Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Friday, August 16th. Oof, man, this year's flying by. I actually just got done talking to someone in a meeting today about a project that's coming up, and we recalled that we met and collaborated on an event that they did last summer on my birthday, and for whatever reason, 1 year and a couple of months ago felt like 5 years ago. So just incredible how time flies. So what's on my mind this week in stoppage time, in this little bit of time between the end of my Friday and my weekend? Honestly, just three things. And one of them is not really on my mind. It's kind of the void of my mind, which is no more Olympics. So getting excited for the Paralympics to start up in Paris. I think it starts on August 28th, so the end of next week. I will watch much of the Paralympics, although I admittedly will not watch as much as I have consumed of the regular Olympics, but kind of having that post-Olympic week lull. And so that's not been on my mind. Plus the WNBA is on a break because of the Olympics. The NWSL is on a break because of the Olympics. And I'm not a huge baseball fan anymore, even though I grew up a rock solid Cubs fan. I don't really watch baseball until the playoffs, and frankly, that's probably only if the Cubs are in, and that doesn't happen often. So don't watch much baseball, and I'm not nearly the big NFL or college football fan that I used to be. So kind of in a bit of a sporting lull right now. So sports not so much on the mind, not dominating like it was in the last 3 weeks, but two things have been on my mind. One personal, I'll talk about that in a second. And then just the other is our podcast, Entrepreneurial Thinkers. That's all I've really been honestly thinking about this week, this current week. But if we go all the way back to like last Friday and the last weekend, my mind and my heart and my life were consumed celebrating my daughter. So the time between the end of my Friday work week last week and the weekend, and then the rest of this week was consumed, absolutely consumed. The last, after you saw me last with celebrating my daughter's baby shower, my life very quickly coming up as a prospective grandpa, abuelo for the first time. So abuelo Rob is coming in hot to replace Tio Rob. So super excited, super grateful, obviously. Prayerful about that my daughter and her partner Henry are blessed with a healthy baby. It's a boy, we know that much, and so super excited, grateful for that. And that was a joyful long weekend of a series of events and experiences. The baby shower on Saturday, which was incredible, meeting a bunch of my daughter's friends and family members from her friends, and then family members from Henry's side. All who convened here in Los Angeles, which was great for me, great for us, convenient, but it was great. It was a special weekend. Thursday night, Friday night, we celebrated differently. Saturday was the shower, awesome, full day, afternoon, evening, and then Sunday we got together before everybody headed off back to their hometown. So exhausting, but really, really fun. So that was on my mind last week. And then honestly, this week, I've only really had kind of a single track mind. There are things going on that I pay attention to that I'm curious about, but the theme that has dominated my week has just been our podcast and the Storytellers Company and standing up this business, this media production business, and this as my future life. And that's really because I'm really only working on two big things this week. One is helping and working with Deanna to book new guests. So got to book some new guests on the show. And that's always a process because it's when it fits in people's schedules, and so we work our way through that. But if you haven't been invited, there's a bunch of people that watch this that probably will be invited soon in this next tranche. And then getting our most recent episode released, which we did with Michelle O'Grady Caballero. We dropped it this week on audio, and it'll drop next Monday on our YouTube channel. Just a really insightful, thoughtful episode. Michelle is a literal expert. She's beginning her studies to get her doctorate in this field of work in psychology, social psychology, social research, kind of demographics. She's going to wind up basically a social anthropologist at the end of all this. But she runs an agency called Team Friday. And Team Friday works here in Los Angeles, from Los Angeles, but works across the country with clients, with governments, with institutions, with universities, with big corporates, big brands. We talked about Whole Foods in this episode a bit. And it's just incredible the work that they do to help these organizations to understand their communities, their audiences, their kind of hone their messaging. But it's also just as applicable to like politicians or individual entrepreneurs or individual leaders. And so the lessons and the takeaways that are in this episode with Michelle were just incredible. And again, just a really good energy, just kind of a chill, thoughtful energy around what they call connecting dots, and understanding how we belong and where we belong and do you belong, right? We all belong somewhere, that's the answer. But where do you belong and how do you understand where your story fits? So I hope you enjoyed that episode. As always, I implore you, beg you, ask you, plead with you, please like it, follow it, subscribe to it. That helps drive our numbers. And as we head into this kind of the business growth side of this thing, we start talking with prospective sponsors and prospective advertisers. Obviously, you're liking, following, subscribing, sharing on your social media, commenting in dropping questions to us on the show, on the YouTube channel or on the audio channels. All that stuff helps us to grow this, to do more of it. And that's the thing is this week is not just thinking about Michelle's episode, but thinking about the recent episodes that we dropped, which I'll talk about here in a second, but also just because I'm so completely immersed in the fundraising via our WeFunder community round campaign that we're doing, which if you'd like to participate, if you haven't participated already, please just reach out to us. We can get to that information so that you can learn more about what we're doing and why we're doing it, and also how you can share in it. It's not every day somebody comes along, at least not my life, in my 56 years, has anybody ever come along and offered me a chance to, in a small way or in a significant way, invest in the building of a new media business, and then be able to share in the spoils and the upsides of that in years to come, while also shaping, kind of guiding the stories that get told. And that is exactly the opportunity that we're affording all of you who watch this, who are in our community, to be able to do. So it's pretty cool. And so that's all I'm really working on this week, is that on a daily basis, sitting here at this computer, just grinding away at email follow-ups and phone call follow-ups and text message follow-ups, and had a couple of coffees this week to follow up some opportunities there. But also just, it gets me constantly thinking about our show. And so you're going to see me, I'm going to turn my eyes a little bit because I just want to scroll down, and I just want to hit you with this, right? So literally the intro to our show, if you go and find us on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast, or on our YouTube channel, we talk about that in 2020, we launched a podcast from Los Angeles and Latin America to talk about the undertold human stories behind the entrepreneurial economies of the Americas, right? And then as 2024 kind of life shifted and the world continues to shift forward, we expanded it and adapted it to become what it is now as Entrepreneurial Thinkers, where I get to, it's why we call it Entrepreneurial Thinkers with Bob Ryan, because I get the pleasure of having these wider, deeper conversations with not just the entrepreneurs, startup entrepreneurs, or investors in startups, but with leaders, with thoughtful leaders across a wide array of industries, governments, sectors, products, populations, communities, etc., right? Because what I fundamentally believe is that both we need more entrepreneurial thinkers, we need more entrepreneurial thinking. Some might just call that innovating or innovation. I can go deeper and apply this kind of language that I like to use, but we need more of those to solve the most complex and most present problems that we have in our societies and in our industries, right? But also, these people present themselves in a lot of different ways. Not everybody has to be a startup entrepreneur and take all that risk. Like, you can be entrepreneurial and still work inside of a large organization. You can be an entrepreneurial thinker inside of a variety of different careers. And as I look back, this week I was doing this a little bit, and I'm going to do it now with you. Like, so Michelle, I just told you about Michelle. Prior episode, Morgan Barrett literally has turned networking and relationship building in the tech industry into a breakfast social gathering, and has grown an exponentially fast growing community across the country. Started in New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, now it's expanding. We talked about that. His episode dropped on our YouTube channel this week and last week on our audio channels. So you got Morgan. We've talked with Adela Jamal, talking about diversity in Entrepreneurship and the development of entrepreneurial economies and entrepreneurs and businesses and investment and diversity in the world of venture capital from a woman's perspective, from a woman of color's perspective. We talked to Robin Ward, my friend here, who is a pioneer in thought leadership around leadership and business leadership in particular, but she has also a fascination with sports like I do. And so we talked a lot about the WNBA and the NWSL, where she was a pioneering investor in the Angel City FC women's football club that we have here in town, which now has added to its roster of investors, primary investors of Willow Bay and Bob Iger, the power couple behind both the Disney company and the USC Annenberg School of Communications. Lauren Greger, the circular nature of the fashion industry, and kids clothing, and as the CEO of Rent-A-Romper. Juan Carlos Garavito from Spain and Colombia, bringing chocolate products, like food products from Colombia as organic farmers in a sustainable way to Spain and Europe and everywhere in between. Lily Roca, who I was thinking about this morning. Lily is an incredible friend here in Los Angeles. So proud to know her, so grateful for her energy and her commitment to the community. She's the CEO of the Latino Restaurant Association. And as we know, restaurants in the hospitality industry are going through a massive transformation and challenging period post-COVID. But it will reinvent itself because of people like Lily and innovative restaurateurs and innovative restaurant investors and entrepreneurs. And so we talked all about that. We talked about the power of the Latino economy inside of the broader economy. But you go back, Cloud Simius joined us talking about the Chicago entrepreneurial economy. Peter Abraham talked about the business of entrepreneurship in sports. And just relationship building and marketing and brand storytelling in the sports industry and in industries, kind of media content worldwide. We talked with Robert Newman about this incredible story of going from his childhood at the feet of his grandmother in Tulsa, Oklahoma, to now running different art institutions and literally working as a working artist in New York City, in some of the hottest, coolest communities in New York City. Mario Carrasco joined us, Pedro Crespo joined us, Erica Bricky joined us. Each of these people talking about different things that they are expert in. Mario talking to us about multicultural marketing and cross-cultural messaging and marketing in today's economy. He leads an incredible organization that works inside that space and is a world-renowned thought leader in those topics. Pedro and Erica looking at venture capital from two different points of view. Erica looking at both venture capital and the tech industry as a whole, as a young woman, as an acutely talented salesperson and relationship builder. She is my favorite junior relationship capitalist in the world outside of myself. Pedro looking at the venture capital industry as something that when he first got involved and interested in it a handful of years back, did not reflect him, did not look like him or feel like him as a Latino. And the life he's built for himself. Greg Mitchell joined us from Peru. Isabel Bart joined us to talk about the entrepreneurial economy and entrepreneurship through universities, but also in Orange County in Southern California, and also kind of a little bit of a French bent. She has now spent the last month at home in France at the Olympics enjoying. So Sam Karchenboim talked to us about the loneliness epidemic that we're feeling and the work that he's doing at the Locks Club, the dating site. We go all the way back. Our great friend of the show who introduced us to Michelle O'Grady Caballero, Cuco Vega, talked about the platform, the relationship marketing, business, operational side of venture capital, and what a critical component that is now in all venture capital. He's a thought leader in this. Alex Gonzalez Omarud joined us from Mexico, where he talked to us about his new Mexico Political Economist, the newsletter. He just went full time on that this week. He just told me that's incredible. Pablo Jimenez got us kicked off earlier in the year talking about the media industry. And man, we're going to have a revisit of that conversation at some point, because the media industry, both print journalism, digital journalism, and then traditional television or media, is so constantly changing nowadays that his expert opinion coming to us from Madrid, where he is the chief editor of the opinion page of El País, the largest Spanish language newspaper in the world. He joined us. Savannah Arroyo took us into the mind of a nurse turned real estate investor, turned financial empowerment coach, author, leader in the medical field sector, where she is helping people to follow the path that she and her husband and her family have followed in reinventing their financial life. And then Juan Conde got us kicked off. Juan Conde talked to us about AI and AI regulation from the point of view of a lawyer, which is what he is and was at the time. But now he has shuttered his law firm in Mexico and has gone to work for Meta on the policy side of AI regulation and AI policy making going forward. So like this is just this year. I mean, if you jump back into last year when our show was kind of transitioning from the prior iteration of it, which was called Mentors Today, into this Entrepreneurial Thinkers milieu that we're in now, I mean, it just continues. Literally, it just keeps going back like 100 more episodes deep. And that's all I could think about this week was all these people, all these incredibly talented people that I get to have these conversations with, all the knowledge and the wisdom and the experience that these people possess, which then we distill down into our show and we share across our social media for you to benefit from, to learn from, to apply to your business, to your career, to your sector or segment of society that you're trying to make better or lead better. And this has become, as Will Stringer reminds me all the time, our good friend, former guest, alumnus of the show, investor in us at Storytellers Company, this has become a community. And I, for a few years, did not think of it that way. And I oftentimes still forget about it as that. But I'm so grateful to be able to sit as the facilitator and the conduit, the pass-through storyteller, to enable you to connect to the stories and the incredible insights and experiences and wisdom. I mean, it's like, this is like an MBA in a box. If you were just listen to all of our episodes and go back and scroll, the networking opportunities, the relationship opportunities that exist for you here, the strategic and tactical partnership opportunities that exist for you and your organization, your company, your fund, your startup, your community organization that exist just inside the confines of the 128 people, 128 interviews that we've now produced on our podcast over the last 4 years, and that we will continue producing for you. It's awe-inspiring. I get fired up, and you can hear it in my voice because I'm not disingenuous about this. Like, I am awestruck by the people that I get to talk to in these interviews. Deanna is awestruck by the people that we get to learn from as she edits these and gets to listen to these conversations multiple times over. The team, Anna Paula, Deanna, myself, the content that gets produced on social media by our team that capsulizes or summarizes the takeaways and the bullet points and the big themes from our shows that gets shared on the social for you all to learn from. It's the greatest gift. And that's why I would say that my book recommendation to finish off this week is The Ride of a Lifetime. It's the Bob Iger story and the Bob Iger Disney story. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm a fan of Bob Iger. I'm now super excited. As I said before, he and his wife are investors, the primary investors in my favorite football club here in town, Angel City FC, our women's NWSL franchise. But also, Bob's a bit older than me, and I identify with him as a man and as a father and as a human in a lot of ways. And so I really enjoyed his story. But the reason that I'm sharing it with you this week is mostly to do with the title. Because from the baby shower experiences of last weekend, from the preparatory emotions that come with me watching my little girl at 30 years old carry to term what will be her little boy, her son, and then to think about my life, to think about my life, and as I always say, as I embrace my own mortality, to think that maybe I have 30 years left in me, and if I can get from 56 to 86, I'll live long enough to see my baby girl's baby boy turn 30. And in the span in between today and then, if with your help and your participation in the community and your interviews with us as guests, you can become part of making this Storytellers Company journey, this media production business, my life's work, and the way that I make a living every day and wake up and spend the next 30 years doing that, oof, like my heart, because that is the ride of my lifetime. Happy Friday. Godspeed to you on your journey. I always wish you joy, happiness, love, and some encouragement on the Friday stoppage time between the end of your week and your weekend. And this week I sprinkle in just maybe a little bit of dreamer, maybe a little bit of self-belief, maybe a little bit of take that big risk, chase those big things, do it with people that you love and respect, and ultimately appreciate that all of our lives are the rides that we're on. There is no end destination. There is no winning point. There is no finish line to cross. It's just life. We cross it every day. We start and finish the race every day. Our lifetimes are the ride. So let's enjoy it.